Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday, July 25th, 2022. Your day with the podcast being brought to you by Cowboy State Daily. Cowboy State Daily has more original Wyoming news content than any other news organization in the state. Cowboy State Daily. Sign up for their daily newsletter. Well, as we head on into this last full week of July, can you believe it? It's going to be all about playing tag with the monsoon and a midweek cool front. So there's a lot of moving parts to this week's weather. There was a lot over the weekend that happened as well. But at least here to start the week, the monsoon gets shifted south briefly. Drier air is going to come into the central and northern Rockies, suppressing that monsoonal moisture down more towards Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, Arizona areas. It gets bottled up there again, kind of like it did at times last week before it comes back to the north again. Now, there were winners and losers over the weekend. Some of you are very happy. Some of you are very angry because some of you got some really good rain over the weekend, especially eastern Colorado, parts of western areas of Kansas, southwest Nebraska, down into the southeastern areas of Colorado, down into the desert southwest, parts of southern Wyoming, got some really good rain, northeastern Wyoming and western South Dakota as well. And then there were pockets where, well, you just didn't get much, or it looked like it was going to rain and it didn't. Now, drier air moves into the northern areas today, but starting Tuesday, that monsoon moisture comes northward again, and it really hangs around all the way through the weekend. So we'll be talking about thunderstorms picking up again. Part of this will be a backdoor cold front. What is a backdoor cold front? It's a cold front that sneaks in from the northeast. That's going to get east of the divide to the Continental Divide mid to late week, cooling us off and enhancing the risk for showers and thunderstorms east of the divide as we get to the second half of the week. Here's a great shot of a really nasty looking cloud near Thermopolis from Tom Anderson yesterday. Notice you see the virga here. Not much rain getting to the ground, just a few sprinkles, more bark than bite. And that's what happened to some of you. You just saw these and it looked like it was going to rain and it didn't. Then there were other areas like southeastern Wyoming. Laramie yesterday didn't even reach 70 degrees. Anybody that was out at Frontier Days had a really cool, wet last couple of days. And here's a good shot of the radar yesterday afternoon and evening over eastern Colorado. So here's Denver right here. We had a line of heavy thunderstorms that developed right here that headed out into the east, bringing eastern Colorado and western Kansas and southwest Nebraska. Some really good rain into the southern mountains of Wyoming and northern Colorado, up into the northeastern parts of Wyoming and western South Dakota. Those are those thunderstorms we talked about on Friday that we're going to move on through. With high pressure splitting apart into the southern plains and southeastern United States and along the coast, the west coast there. Notice the winds aloft here coming in from the northwest. This is going to introduce the drier air and suppress that monsoon moisture briefly to the south today. But this is the pattern change we talked about last week, how the highs were going to separate. It's going to be really hot in Portland and Seattle. You'll hear it on the news. The Pacific Northwest has had a cooler than average summer, especially along the coast, but they're about ready to get a week of heat, so that'll be making some headlines, while the center part of the country that has been the hottest is going to get the most relief. The satellite photo today really shows what's going on well. Here's that arch, that ring of fire. Look at this blue and green area here. Some really good rain where it's really needed right there in that ring of fire around the high. But here's that tongue of drier air penetrating into Wyoming, Idaho, and parts of Utah and the Great Basin today. But still see how deep that moisture flow is right there. And notice the enhanced cloudiness, a lot of thunderstorm activity over northern Mexico. Now, some of you may say, hey, you showed us the same picture a week ago. Well, it's basically a good representation here on the weather and how it goes through cycles, and it will repeat itself. So we have a lot of enhancement here in northern Mexico that does come back up just like it did this past weekend. The sea surface temperature anomalies continue to support the monsoon moisture flow. All of these sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of California are above average and at the right temperatures to keep a lot of high humidity air coming into western North America, and that continues. So until we see these waters cool off, that monsoon moisture flow is still going to be there. Here's the precipitable water for today. It shows you that tongue of dryness coming in. So areas that were really cool yesterday are actually going to warm up, and you can see the suppression of the monsoon now to the south. So the thunderstorm outlook today is basically in the green areas here. Going to have severe weather along the east coast as they have a cool front cooling them off, but that's going to lead to active weather there. As we go forward, So we're going to step you through the week. This is for tomorrow. Notice monsoon moisture gets a little bit more across the divide. We still have this pocket of dry air here in southwestern Wyoming and back into northern Utah. But this will get thunderstorms going again. So after a break and not a lot of thunderstorm activity in some areas today, it picks up tomorrow. Could even have a few strong to severe thunderstorms in southeastern Wyoming and western Nebraska tomorrow afternoon and evening. By Wednesday, it's basically the same setup, but the moisture starts to get a little bit deeper again. This is the real deep monsoonal moisture right here. This is what we got to watch and see what it does going later in the week. So this is Wednesday. That's going to get thunderstorms going again. And notice another area of possible severe weather, western Nebraska, eastern Wyoming, and northeastern areas of Colorado. While the thunderstorm areas out here in the drier air, you're not going to see as much. As we get to the end of the week, look how it gets deeper on Thursday. You see this dry air right here in the plain states? That's basically the backdoor cold front. The cooler, drier air gets pushed up slope, going up against the divide. That moisture intersecting that cold front is going to lead to a cool, cloudy, wet pattern by the end of the week. This is going to be especially true on Thursday, and this is for Wednesday night into Thursday morning. There's that trough, a real strong one really for July, going across southern Canada, pushing that cool air west of the divide while heat continues in the Pacific Northwest and the southeastern United States. So basically, this is a recipe mid to late in the week where the cool front will interact with the monsoonal moisture, and this is going to lead to, look at these temperatures. These are the temperature anomalies on Thursday. Look at the center part of the country that's been so hot. They're going to cool off while it's going to bake in the Pacific Northwest. This is how the weather works. You don't have one giant part of the globe having the same weather pattern. You kind of move where the temperature anomalies are going to be at particular times. So there's a bit of an adjustment going on, although I do think this is temporary. We're going to go back to some very warm weather in the central and west again by the early parts of August, but I think monsoonal moisture is still going to play into that. Look at the rain. Look at this axis, this east-west axis of rain predicted. This is between now and Sunday. So the heaviest rainfall is going to be around this area here where that monsoonal moisture is going to be the deepest. This is basically the northern fringes of where that deeper monsoonal air is going to be. So unfortunately for northern and western Wyoming, eastern Idaho there are rain chances, but not nearly as good as these areas to the south. The monsoon's like a lottery. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But right now, the better, more concentrated moisture is going to be in these red and orange areas here. But on the fringes, you still have that chance for heavier rain. Then there's the Pacific Northwest being hot and dry. Now, this is looking forward to Sunday. We still have that high in the Pacific Northwest. We still have the trough keeping the Great Lakes in the eastern part of the United States actually a little bit cooler. But heat is going to start to build back in this weekend. After a cool stretch of weather at the end of the week, the next weekend and next week starts to heat up again. But what will happen underneath that dome of high pressure is there's a good slug of subtropical moisture. So what that will do is keep the high from getting it too hot and keeping thunderstorms in the forecast. And notice the deeper blues here do get into areas west of the divide, like western Wyoming, back into Utah, eastern Oregon there. So there may be some rain-producing thunderstorms even underneath that strong area of high pressure, while drier air moves into the central part of the United States as we get to the period of late this weekend and early next week. We'll have an update for you tomorrow. Have a good Monday.